can't control any outcome, but it's
No.
really hard to accept. Look at what we learn on like social media and TV, like just in the media in general. You have all these promises for companies and all these solutions saying, if you do this specific diet plan, you will get here. If you take this medicine, you will get here. Like that's what advertising marketing oftentimes is. And a lot of them are poor promises. I mean, they're just patently false.
Yes. They're total BS.
I mean, they're illegal mostly. I mean, they're untrue statements that they're putting out to the world. I think that's where we get that. And because in a marketing standpoint, they're trying to create this version where this will happen, as opposed to saying like, hey, here are the tools. And if you use them, you have lots of influence over the outcome.
Hi, I'm Jen.
Hey, I'm Suzanne.
Today we are talking about how my need, and maybe yours, need for certainty to control the outcome is causing all of our anxiety.
Yeah, I could definitely speak to that.
And if you listen to Suzanne's last episode when she was talking about her joy pressure for like going to Disneyland or planning out these events, this is kind of the same thing, because I'm sure you've noticed some of the topics keep coming up, like trying to control outcomes.
Yep.
So 1.0, Jen, was very much a controller. But if you asked me, I would say, I'm so easygoing. I don't really care. I don't care where we go. Like, I just, you plan it, I'll be there. Suzanne's smiling because I was never that way with her, but everyone else I was that way.
Younger sister over here. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oldest daughter. I'm like, we're doing this and you're doing it, whether you like it or not. But everybody else, it was like, I'm so easy breezy. I don't care. But would you say I was that way with other people?
I think I've always known you. So like, I think that maybe that's what you attempted to portray, but no, I've never seen you as that.
Well, okay. Well, little self-awareness there. Real time, people. We do not practice these episodes. So I would have considered myself an easy breezy whatever. And that, like I just plan stuff and it just works out. And so what I will say is with friends and stuff, I'm very much go with the flow. 1.0 Jen. And I still am today. Like as long as I'm with people, I know you're shocked, people. As long as I'm getting my connection, I really don't care what else happens, honestly. I mean, if there's somewhere I really want to go, I'll speak up. But other than that, I'm like, whatever. Whatever everybody wants to do is fine with me. But when it comes to my family or my career or anything where I deem the outcome needs to be a certain way, as Suzanne talked about, I overplan, I overthink, I overcommit, I over people please. I don't even know if that's a thing, but I did. I mean, basically add over to everything. And I used to call that being a planner, organized. So my identity would have been, oh, I'm so organized and I'm such a good planner and I'm just a very good communicator because I want it to be exactly how I want it. And I don't want you to think that like, an email, for instance. My emails are very articulate, but not because I'm trying to be clear. What I realized was I was trying to control the outcome. You couldn't say that you didn't know that this is what I wanted because I was very clear. You couldn't say that it was my fault, more importantly, because this is what I told you was going to happen. And so I would spend over too much time making sure that I couldn't like get in trouble for something, like for instance at work. Or I would overplan, like Suzanne was talking about, like a family event because I wanted to control the entire narrative and I wanted to control the outcome. I would, what else would I overplan? Yes.
Yeah. Because I think I can speak with is when you were talking about a work email, like as a lawyer, it's almost a skill that is really great to have, right? Because you want to knock out all the things and you want to make sure that like you get cited. So it's funny that and that it's not going to be my fault and that I'm winning and that my client is benefiting from this in some way. And so it's funny too how sometimes these skills that don't translate well outside of life really work well in certain
Mhm.
situations. And when you were talking about that, I'm
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, no, I used to write emails like that. So I think to a certain extent too, you could look at that and say, hey, there was a place for that.
Mhm.
But you have to look at your purpose and the reason you were doing it. And I think like when I was sending
Yes.
a work email, it was like, yeah, because as a lawyer, that's what you want to do. But
Mhm.
when I'm sending a personal email saying, hey, Jen, I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this
Mhm.
instead, and trying to prevent you from being able to say anything negative about me or somehow blaming me for it, that's
Mhm.
two very
Mhm.
different things. So it's interesting when
Yes.
you said that.
Yeah, and many of the toxic traits I have served me very well in other
Yes.
aspects of my life. So
Yes.
let's be clear. However, in the main part of my life, the part that actually matters, what I realized was it was a very hard thing for me to accept. So while you're listening to this, I really want you to have an open mind because it's going to take a while to kind of settle in. When you are trying to control the outcome or you want certainty, if I do X and Y, I will get Z. When you're trying to do that, knowingly or unknowingly, I don't know where you're at on your journey, it causes anxiety because you have attachment, like I've talked about attachment meaning, you have attachment to the outcome. And when you have an attachment to the outcome, which by the way, you have no control over, I'm here to tell you, you have no control over outcomes. I challenge you. You send me anything and you tell me how you have total control over the outcomes. Like, challenge accepted. Send it. You might have influence over outcomes, but you never have control over the outcomes. And it was really hard for me because my whole life I thought I did have control over outcomes, but nothing necessarily ever worked out for me 100%. So I don't know where it's this funny thing that like our mind tells us one thing, even though we have no proof of it. And Suzanne, I know you struggle with this too. Like, do you have any proof of it ever working out the way, like with 100% certainty?
2.0 would say no. 1.0 would have argued with you and said, yeah, and you do this and that and this. And it reminds me of like some of the episodes we've done previously about like kids
Yeah.
sports or like
Yeah.
raising your kids where you're like, hey, you can put in the effort to be better at this, but you can't
Yes.
can't control if you're going to start. You can't control
Right.
if you play. You can't control or like there's so many different iterations of that.
Yeah.
And no, I mean you can't control any outcome, but it's
No.
really hard to accept. And it's so
Yes.
counterintuitive because, and I think
Yes.
part of it, you're saying like for whatever reason, I think part of it is like, look at what we learn on like social media and TV, like just in the media in general. You have
Mhm.
all these promises for companies and all these
Mhm.
solutions saying, if you do this specific diet plan, you will get
Yes.
here. If you take this medicine, you will get here. If you wear these clothes and look this way, like that's what advertising marketing oftentimes is. And a lot
That's
of them
true.
are poor promises. I mean, they're just
Yeah.
patently
B-
false.
BS. Yes. They're
Yeah.
total BS.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
illegal mostly. I mean, they're
Yeah.
untrue statements that they're putting out to the world, but that's a whole other thing. But like, I think that's where we get that. And because in a marketing standpoint, they're trying to create this version where this will happen as opposed to saying, like,
Mhm.
hey, here are the tools. And if you use them, you have lots of influence over the outcome.
I like that word. Yes.
Yeah.
Influence. You have influence.
But you don't control
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely. So I decided I had to do my own audit, my own time audit, if you will, to really understand and prove to my brain, like neuroscience wise, like, is this real? Like you said, I kind of feel like I do have control over things. And I kind of feel
Yeah.
like my extra effort definitely helps me get like what I want. So, no, I can tell you, I found myself spending extra time on a very difficult text message where I had to tell somebody no. And I rewrote the text message and did all my justifications. And here's a little bit of people pleasing still coming out because I thought that I could essentially not have them be mad at me by saying no, right? Or not giving them what they want. They were still mad at me. So I wasted tons of time. They still said no. And then the other thing I realized is here I am sitting in the car with my kids, perfect time, picked them up from school, and I could be talking to them and being present with them, but I'm still upset about the outcome that didn't work out because I'm mad that I'm not mad, I'm upset that this person is upset with me because I feel so convicted that I'm saying no for myself, right? So I've wasted time redoing the text message multiple times. I've wasted time pining over the fact that they were still mad at me. And I've wasted time that I could have been present with my kids. So that's just one example. I'll give you another example. I spend all this time working out, or like everybody kind of knows my weight journey, my health journey or whatever from a bunch of episodes. You can just look up Ozempic, you'll find it. And how I thought, right, Ozempic, oh, you're going to lose all this weight. Everyone I knew was losing 2 pounds a week or more, and you don't even have to change anything. And I'm like, well, look at me. I'm working out. I'm already healthy. I'm already on this journey. So I'm just going to add this in and it's going to work great for me. And then I lose like no weight. Hello? Zero control over the outcome, people. Even though they said this was going to happen, that didn't happen for me. Right. And in that case, I didn't waste a ton of extra time mentally, but it's just another example of how you really don't have control over the outcome. And so once I sort of string together 1 week worth of like, I don't even want to tell you how many because I stopped counting, but probably hundreds of things of wasted time, I had to have this like radical acceptance. And I know that that's kind of overused, but truly a radical acceptance that I'm still till this day trying to grasp and like truly accept that I have no control over the outcome. But I do know what I do have control over. So based on that, what would you say? I know you're going to say something.
Yeah, I think that what also happens is that the goal of trying to create certainty is also trying to get rid of the anxiety.
Yes.
Right? Like if you have certainty, then allegedly you don't have anxiety. Yet you spend so much time trying to get certainty that you actually create anxiety for yourself.
Yes.
So it's this very counterintuitive process. And I mean, going back to your first example, and essentially like you had that text message and you're trying to set a boundary or you're saying no to something, right?
Yeah.
So essentially you're setting a boundary. Well, especially when you're in that initial point of setting boundaries, it's super uncomfortable. And I mean, it gets easier on time, but there's still ones that are really hard, right? And so when you obsess about, and I think so many women do this, and I think our friends listening, like it's a great example of like, well, if I just send the right text message,
if I explain it the right way.
Yes.
If
no one
I
can come back at me, they're going to
add some emojis.
Boundary. Yeah, they're going to accept this boundary and you spend all this time. Well, half the time, no one's going to read a text message that long. They're already having their own opinion. It kind of reminds me of the episode we talked about where you wanted Jason to really feel that you were upset. And yet when it came to you, you were like, it's no big deal. What's the problem, right?
Totally.
It's the same situation with a boundary. It's like you spend all this time and you create all this anxiety within yourself and you're in that opportunity that you have with your kids and you're missing not only the presence and the connection with them, but you've also now created so much anxiety. So now, like I've talked about, I get like the river of like anxiety that goes up and down, like from my neck all the way like through my body. And it's like, I'm creating that as opposed to just saying, sorry, no, I can't. Or no, sorry, just I can't. Thank you for the invite. Or that's not going to work for me. Or so I think from a practical standpoint, when we're talking about that text message, I just wanted to jump in and say, you don't need to give the huge explanation. And most likely, if you're doing it over text message, it's because it's a really uncomfortable topic and neither you or the other person wants to engage in it. And there's a good chance that they're not going to be happy with your response. If you know that you're setting a boundary and they're not going to like it, or you're just saying no to something and it makes you uncomfortable, a really good strategy is just to say no, or just to say, hey, sorry, I can't make it, or that's not going to work for me. Because I promise you, well, maybe I shouldn't promise you, because we were just talking about making promises that weren't necessarily 100% guaranteed. But the vast majority of time is if there's a boundary there, they're not going to like it. And no matter what you write, no matter how you justify it, it won't matter. I remember doing this with you. I mean, we used to write back and forth these like exceptionally long text messages. And I would be like, well, and I tell Greg, like, well, Jenn just clearly doesn't understand this because she responded this way. And like we were spent so much time and it created so much anxiety. And I talked to Greg about it and I talked to my friends about it.
Oh yeah.
And
I didn't even get into all that
about it. You know what I mean? And it's like just such a great example of all this anxiety I created. And I created anxiety for all the people around me. Because now I'm talking about all the drama to all the people. And instead of talking about something good, all in the name of getting certainty, like it was never to be had.
It was never to be had. And then another example I would give, because that's perfect for like setting boundaries, is like as mothers, we want the best for our kids, right?
Yep.
So they're going to, they're trying out for a team, we'll just say, right?
Yeah.
Listen, there's nothing we can do except pump them up, drop them off, find out when the tryout is, if it's, depending on their age, drop them off and leave them with like a confidence and a knowing, and pump up from mom, send them off. And then when they get in, we can just sit there and wait to see what their reaction is. But all the stressing and all the anxiety and like calling your friends, like, well, I don't know, or calling your sister, like, I don't know if they're going to make it. And now I'm going to sit here and watch the tryout. And oh my gosh, well, this girl, she's better than this girl, but I don't know. And look at the politics and look what's happening. And I'm getting, oh my word. Guess what? All of that wasted energy means nothing. And to your point, I've set this anxiety that my kid feels, and she's going to interpret it however, like using my daughter, because we all know her relationship with soccer, she's going to interpret it however she's going to interpret it. So my anxiety is like, I hope she makes it. She might interpret it as mom doesn't think I'm going to make it.
Yep.
She might interpret it as if I don't make it, mom's going to be disappointed. She might interpret it as mom's just super nervous, so I should be nervous, right? Like you create all this stuff that you have no idea. And I talk to women all the time and they're like, my daughter has so much anxiety. And I'm not being patronizing or judging. I'm just like, they literally are like, I don't know what to do, Jen. Like my daughter just has so much anxiety. And I'm just staring at them like, yeah. And I want to say, because they're not necessarily my client sometimes, because you have anxiety and you have uncontrolled anxiety, and they're learning to have anxiety from you. And that's like really hard for people to understand, because especially moms, you're so hyper focused on your kids. And it's like, because you don't have certainty, you're teaching them what to do when you don't have certain, and the bottom line is, I'm like getting caught up on my words, because we just don't have certainty about anything. The tryout, the making the team, the friends they're going to find, the getting concert tickets, the getting into college, the how they're going to work out, who they're going to marry, who, if they're going to get invited to this party. Like, I don't know, I'm just using like all the teen stuff right now, but it's like, there's no certainty. So why are we putting all this pressure on them, putting pressure on ourselves, putting pressure on everything, when like at the end of the day, all we're doing is causing anxiety because we have zero control. We have influence. So what I was going to say earlier is, here's what I know. I can control my thoughts. I can't control them, but I can rein them in, I should say. I can be aware of my thoughts, but I can control my actions. And beyond that, there's nothing I can do. So those are the only two things that can influence said thing, but no extra action is going to influence. It's just like, I don't know how to explain it, but you can just do the thing. Like no additional effort that makes you feel better is going to actually change the outcome, I guess.
I think a good way to title it is like busy work. In a way, it's busy work. It's making you feel like you're being productive when you're not. It's just it's actually in turn creating anxiety. And to me, this is a perfect example or opportunity for you to use the DSE method and for our friends to use the DSE method. And that's what we talk about, like discover, shift your perspective, and empower yourself. So for me, I've talked a ton of times on the podcast. I very much come from a place of trying to control the outcome. It still pops up for me a lot, to be honest. And I have to be very mindful. It's like almost a first reaction to things. And I know it's coming. So I use DSE to be like, okay, here we go. Step one, Suzanne. Is this trying to control the outcome? Two, if it is, and oftentimes it is, it's like, okay, how can I shift my perspective? So instead for that tryout, so instead of being in the car and being like, oh yeah, and I called my sister and my friends and it's like, hey, take a breath. Hey, I'm excited for your tryout today. I really hope it goes well. And the shift in perspective is calm your body, Suzanne, because you don't want to pass all of that dysregulation off to your child. You don't want them to think, like you said, all the things that they could think, because they're going to interpret it however they want. Our energy is our energy, and it's frenetic. when it is like that. I mean, it is
Yeah.
just like jumbly and crazy,
Yeah.
and you can
No
feel
matter
it.
what words come out of your mouth. Like people are like, oh no, but I never freak out. I'm like, you literally
Yeah.
are coming out of your skin right now. Like I can feel it.
Yeah. And so if you take that example and then you say to your kids, like, okay, or you could even share with them and be like,
Mhm.
I'm so excited for your tryout today. I'm a little
Mhm.
nervous for you. And so,
Yeah.
I can kind of feel that in my body. Do you feel that in your body? Because
Mhm.
I guarantee if they're trying out for something, they're nervous. Doesn't matter
Yeah.
what it is. We all get nervous.
Yes.
And now you're having the experience with them. So there's just ways to shift it. Or maybe you don't
Mhm.
say anything. Maybe you're just calm and quiet and, hey, sweetie, have a great tryout.
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
or sending that text message and being like, instead of doing all this busy work right now of explaining my position and making it crystal clear why I'm right and she's wrong, you
Yes.
just say the thing. Yeah, that's
Say the
not going to
thing.
work for me.
Yeah.
And then you've now have an hour of time that you've saved, and they're going to respond most likely the same way in a conflict, regardless of what you wrote. So what would your takeaways be then for today?
Oh my goodness, I have so many. But I think the biggest takeaway is, as you can see, Suzanne and I could have made this like a 2-hour example because
For
it
sure.
literally runs your life. So the first
Yeah.
takeaway is it was running my life 100%. And two is that you literally have to accept that you have no control over outcome. Just period end. You literally have zero control how it ends up. You do have influence, but no amount of overs, and I'm using my air quotes, over everything is going to change the outcome. And I think really focusing on that, like you said, every time you start to do it, you just have to remind yourself and just reel yourself back in. And I have gained so much time, so much calm, so much more presence and gifts of like time with my kids, time with my husband, time with myself, time with you, time with friends. Like, who wouldn't rather be doing that than calling friends just to have like an anxiety dump?
On top of that, the anxiety dump, the other problem with that is you dump it on the other person. So every time you're not
Yeah.
even just creating anxiety for yourself, but now you're oftentimes creating anxiety for the people you're speaking to. So in that
Mhm.
scenario where you called 4 different people, well, now
Mhm.
you've anxiety dumped on 4 other people that they have to deal with it.
Yeah. 100%. Or be worried for you or all the things. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, we could go down a whole nother rabbit hole
Yeah.
with that. But my big takeaways are you have zero control over the outcome. The outcome is the outcome. Stop expecting or trying to get certainty. It does not exist anywhere. And I think the other thing would be to start. I guess this would be the question. I know you normally give the question to the listener, but I think the biggest thing is to just
Yeah.
start being
Go for
aware
it.
of, like she says, start doing the discovery of like, where am I spending a lot of time that I know I shouldn't be spending time here because I don't have control over this outcome. And my guess is there's, like I always say, there's probably a million places, but start somewhere where you're comfortable changing or addressing it.
All right. Well, that's it for today.
I hope you got something out of my story today.
We'll see you next time. Same place, same sisterhood. Bye.
Bye.